Hello friend, how are you doing today? My name is Mary, this is Happilyeveresch, and today, on this very cool fall day, I'm going to give you my top 5 books that I read this summer. I really enjoy this format. I enjoy breaking down my seasonal reading, and so let's just get into it. Let's chat about the 5 best books I read this summer. I had a very hard time narrowing it down. A couple books that I'm gonna sneakily mention here were able to make the cut. One of them being Beach Read, which I absolutely loved. I'm going to kind of fudge on one of my numbers and give you 2 nonfictions because we can't help but cheat a little bit around here. But let's just hop on into it. Let's chat. I'm gonna kind of rank these from like 5 to 1, but ask me a different day and these numbers could change. So take that with a huge grain of salt. All right, now let's get into it. Book number 5 is a very hyped book that I wasn't sure that I was going to love, but indeed I did end up loving it, and that's Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. This is kind of like a popular fiction, but also kind of literary fiction. It kind of fits into that like compellingly readable literary fiction genre, I think. This was such a phenomenal book. I'm so glad that a group of my college friends decided during quarantine to start like a book club that we never actually met, but this was the pick. So I'm excited that it pushed me to read it because I enjoyed this book so much. What captivated me the most was the writing style. The way she tells the story is so compelling. She uses the characters to propel us forward into other characters' stories. She also writes with this like omniscient kind of collective narrative style, which I find so compelling to read. It almost feels a little larger than life, a little satirical almost in nature. And so yeah, it just hit the exact right tone for me. In this book, we're following this kind of perfect suburban crafted town and the people who live in it, and a woman and her daughter move in and kind of like unravel this like seeming perfection and kind of show the fault lines in this neighborhood, while also just being a compelling character study about all of these different characters and kind of what makes them tick, what defines them. It was phenomenal. I cannot wait to read more of Celeste Ng's work. I hope she has many more books in her to write because she's such a talent, and I'm very excited that I also have her first novel on my shelf back there. Everything I Never Told You, I believe is what it's called. So loved this. It was so like such a phenomenally written book, again, that like compellingly readable literary fiction. So I love that it's just like a good story, but also there's just like some deeper themes and meanings behind the writing. It was such a good read. Loved this one. Book number 4, I own a physical copy, but I can't find it. It's never happened to me before where I'm like legit don't know where it is. But that is a memoir, and it's called Burnt Toast Makes You Sing Good. I'll put a little picture here. There's a subtitle that I can't remember, and this is by Kathleen Flynn, and I adored this one. It's a food memoir. It's a nostalgic memoir looking back on childhood. So it's just really heavy with atmosphere and nostalgia. And I loved all of the food writing. I love how integral food is, I mean, to all people, right? We all eat every day. So I loved that was such a heavy theme, but also just the nostalgia tied up with it, and she shares recipes. The audiobook was phenomenal. It was just a slice of life, nostalgic, cozy kind of read. It was so much fun. I really loved it. I think that this book is kind of like rounded a little bit. You know, there is this kind of like looking back that maybe we take away some of the hard things, so it doesn't really get into like the nitty-gritty of life, but I still loved it. I adored it. I think it really hit me as a Midwesterner, like right in the feels. It was phenomenal, and I loved it, and I would highly recommend this memoir, and it definitely has made me want to check out more food memoirs, food writing. I think it's a genre of books that I could really sink my teeth into. Okay, moving on. Book number 3, this is my little cheat. So it's 2 nonfiction. The first one I own on audiobook, and that's Pelosi by Molly Ball. And I had to include it because it kind of encouraged me to pick this next book up, which is The Women's Hour, The Great Fight to Win the Vote by Elaine Weiss. I loved both of these nonfiction They're definitely their own stories. One is a biography of Nancy Pelosi and her political career and her rise to her political fame. And then this is all about the women's right to win the vote, in particular looking at the last couple weeks in Tennessee and that fight to get it ratified in that state. Both of these are very empowering. They're stories about women and the fight, but both books also don't gloss over the negative and the bad. It really paints a human picture of what it means to fight for what you believe in, where you make sacrifices, and though we don't condone those sacrifices or condone those moments of weakness, I think at least we can understand. And so both of these books, I thought, just explored women in a really wonderful and nuanced way, and I adored them both. So they kind of just go hand in hand in my mind, so I had to include them both on my number 3 spot. Number 2, I don't own this book, but I'm definitely on the hunt for a copy because I really enjoyed it, and that's There by Tommy Orange. Wow, does this book pack a punch. This is a multiple points of view story following Native people, mostly in the Oakland region in California, but there are different places in the United States that these voices are set, and really our kind of event, the thing that is like tying them all together, is a powwow that happens in California, in Oakland, California, and it's all of these different voices who are so different but are still joined together and connected through their shared Native heritage. It's harrowing and heartbreaking, but so in its own way still hopeful and beautiful. I loved this message being that like story should be shared vastly, because everyone's experience can be rooted in a shared identity, but are still so unique and still so I want to say independent, but that's not the word, like individual. And I loved it. It was beautiful, and the audiobook was phenomenal. There's multiple narrators on the audiobook, which added to just this like experience of being enveloped in all of these different voices. I hope that Tommy Orange writes more. He's so talented. I hope he writes more, but also this has made me realize I need to seek out more Native fiction, because I've read little, not enough. And so this one definitely pushed me to want to seek that out more. It was beautiful. I loved it. A lot of people love this book. A lot of people say it's their favorite book, and I understand why. It was phenomenal. It was so good, and I kick myself when I think that I could have bought this for a couple dollars at the thrift store, but I didn't pick it up. Heartbreaking, but I'm on the lookout. I want to add this one to my shelf. It's phenomenal. So good. All right, and my number 1, you might not be surprised if you've seen any of my recent videos, and that's Our Souls at Night by Kent Haruf. Holy moly, this was beautiful. It's quiet, it's sparse, it's full of appreciation for humanity and life and what it means to be alive and a human and what it means to be in community. This book follows 2 elderly neighbors, Addie and Lewis, and Addie proposes that they spend their nights together for companionship and to kind of stave off loneliness, and it goes from there. This book is about the mundane, but in the most beautiful, life-affirming way. Like, holy moly, this book is gorgeous. I've read another one of Kent Haruf's books, Plain Song. It made me feel the same way. Nostalgic and atmospheric, but also so, like, I'm like, how do you do this with such few words and such simple writing? He is transportive in his writing. I sobbed at the end of this. It made my heart break, but it also gave me hope and like love for humanity. I mean, it just did all of the things a novel should do, and not that many pages. A talent. Kent Haruf is a talent. I'm so glad that he blessed the world with his words. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. All right, friends, those are my favorites from the summer. I would love to know, what were your best books of summer 2020, and will any of these make my top list for the full year? We'll just have to see. Again, it's so funny to be like recording this today when it's like epitome of fall outside, but you know, I kind of took a little break in August, so this was my first chance to share this with you. But all right, friends, have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.